In this video, we're going to talk about how we can create an assessment in MasteryConnect. When you've created an assessment, if you created it directly from a tracker, you will have some information pre-filled. If you have created just from the Assessments tab, you will need to make all of these selections. We tend to use the unpacked version of the standard course of study. And then when you select a class, you can either select one of your trackers or just a generic class. You can select this assessment to be from multiple standards or for one standard in particular. We're going to choose multi-standard. The rest of the steps are going to be very similar if you just chose one standard for this assessment. You'll give your assessment a title, and then you will next select your assessment source. And here's a place where you have a number of options. You can use a document-based assessment. This might be that you have a paper pencil test that's maybe in PDF, Word, Google document form that you've given in the past, and it's a multiple choice, true, false type test, and you would like to just deploy that through MasteryConnect. You would select upload a file. You would choose that file from your computer, and then you would indicate how many questions were on that test. Let's say that test had 5 questions. And then you would just create the answer key in MasteryConnect. And if some of those items maybe were true, false, or had multiple answers, you would be able to change those item types. One limitation of doing a document-based test in MasteryConnect is that you cannot have open-ended or graded response style questions. The other types of tests that you can create in MasteryConnect are item-based tests. When you see item-based here, you should see your own personal item bank. And this will contain any questions that you have written associated with the standards that you wrote them for. So when I look in my personal item bank and I look in this drop-down menu, I can see that I have written 0 items for most of these standards, but I do have 1 item written for this particular standard. I can preview the item, or I can simply add it to the test. If I add it to the test, it will pop over here to the items in assessment column. I can also drag and drop that item over to add it to the test. You will also see when you go to the assessment source that you have access to the case item bank. So if you haven't written any items, you can choose the case item bank, and you can see that there are a lot more items for you to potentially choose from. So in addition to the 1 item that I wrote for NS1, I would like to add this graded response question. And I think I would like to add this question, but in order to preview it, I can click on it, make sure it's the item that I want to add, and then I can add it directly from this window, or I can go over here and drag it and say, I actually want that to be the first item. So dragging and dropping will let you rearrange your items as you add them to your assessment. Let's say I have another standard that I need to assess here, and I'm going to add a couple of items just for demonstration purposes. And I'm going to put 1 more standard on here. Okay, so let's pretend that I have this assessment ready to go. I've previewed all the items, have them in the order that I want them in. Before I actually create the test, I have one final step regarding the scoring in MasteryConnect. In MasteryConnect, students will be either indicated that they have achieved mastery, they are near mastery, or they have not yet mastered a standard. Our conventions for mastery are 80% correct or better, and for near mastery are 50% correct or better. And sometimes we have to estimate as best we can. So in this case, for a student to master, when there's only 3 items for a standard, they would probably need to get all 3 correct, whereas getting 2 correct would indicate that they are near mastery. So I will fill in those levels. When there are 5 items like this for a standard, I can better estimate that 80% would be 4 out of 5, and 3 out of 4 would get them to at least that 50% mark. So I set those thresholds and then finally click Create Assessment.